January 2023 is the focus of this paper one. And we encourage you to subscribe, click that notification bell, like, and share. For anyone who might be preparing for exams or generally interested in CSEC Biology. So let's jump into it with question one. And just to let you know, the syllabus has a specific order: section A, section B, section C. Section A starts off with living organisms in the environment. So the first few questions are from section A. Then it comes section B, life processes and diseases, followed by section C, which is genetics, continuity, and variation. So that's the order the syllabus follows. The largest section is section B, so most of the questions do come from there. But the first few questions will be from A, followed by section B and C. So question one: which of the following characteristics is used to distinguish insects from other arthropods? And it is number of legs. Hairiness, color, shape. Arthropods, whether they are crustaceans or insects, they come in all varying types, sizes, shapes, hairiness, but the number of legs is the distinguishing factor. Living organisms, such as plants, are affected by abiotic factors which determine where they become established. Which of the following options describe some of these determining factors? And the abiotic factors, which is presented in bold, is sediment size, shape, and color. We have sunlight availability, soil, pH. The other two answers don't present anything that we would be interested in. Now remember, this is plants. So which of these are better for plants? It would obviously be C: sunlight availability, soil pH, and minerals. A 50-gram sample of fresh soil is repeatedly heated at 110 degrees Celsius and cooled in a desiccator. The final constant weight of the soil is 35 grams. The soil component eliminated by this procedure is most likely, that's 15 grams. That's a change of 15 grams. So what came out? It would have to be water. When you heat it and cool it, you are removing the water from the soil. Question 4. Refers to the following food web. How many complete food chains can be formed from the food web? Sure. And you could just count that. 1, and you have 2, you have 3. So any one providing 3 is the answer. Infestation of mealybugs can cause severe damage to hibiscus plants, and very often ladybird beetles are introduced to reduce the mealybug population. The relationship between the mealybugs and ladybird beetles can be described as a predator-prey relationship. You're using the ladybird beetles to keep the population of the mealybug in check. Question 6. Bacteria play an important role in the cycling of nitrogen. Which of the following organisms is not a part of this cycle? Ribosome, nitrobacteria, nitrosomonas, streptococcus. I think streptococcus will jump out us being the answer. It is the one that is not. Item 7 refers to the following diagram of energy transfer from the sun. We have the sun starting it off, and you see energy is being transferred, energy moving energy. Energy flow through the ecosystem is not 100% efficient. This is so because energy is lost. There's somewhere along the way energy has to be lost, and the loss is caused by excretion and respiration. So 7 is A. Question 8. Which of the following practices can be used in the conservation or restoration of an ecosystem? Could you restricted hunting season, quarrying to remove limestone, planting of mangrove along the shoreline? 1 and 3 are feasible, so we are looking at 1 and 3, which is C. Question 9. Which of the following are effects of pollutants on coral reefs in the Caribbean? Increase in macroalgal and seagrass growth. Yes. Less reef fish. Yes. More branching coral. Why would you get more branching coral? No. So 1 and 2 is what we're looking for. So the answer is A. Question 10. Which of the following are true about the effects of carbon monoxide from exhaust? Binds reversibly to hemoglobin? No, it actually binds irreversibly to hemoglobin. Binds more easily with hemoglobin? That is true. Prevents oxygen transport by hemoglobin? That is true. So 2 and 3, which makes the answer C. Item 11 refers to the following diagram of population growth, and we see a nice curve here, and it takes a dip down here. Phase 4 of the graph is most likely due to what? If phase 4 is going downwards, we're looking for something that is suggesting a decrease in the population, and that will be competition from invasive species. Items 12 refers to the following diagram of a plant cell. We see the nucleus. We see 1 and 2 being labeled here. Which organelles are correctly matched to their function? And if we take our time and read these, we will see that we have the nucleus. That's not one of the labeled organelles. Remember, they only give you 1 and 2. So once you match them up, even if you are not too sure how they looked, but you should know from looking at them what is what. That's a mitochondria and a chloroplast, or rather a chloroplast and a mitochondria. You would know that the chloroplast, which traps sunlight, and the mitochondria, which releases energy during respiration, is the answer. Which of the following comparisons of the cell wall and the cell membrane is incorrect? And we're going with D. Found in both plants and animal cells. That's not true. A cell wall is only found in plants, and a cell membrane is found in both plants and animals. So that is not correct. In multicellular organisms, cells become different from one another in order to carry out particular functions. This is called specialization, where they become adapted for a specialized function. Which of the following statements best describes diffusion? And it is a concentration gradient is necessary. Energy is required? No. A cell membrane is required? No. It involves movement of water only? No. That's osmosis. So C is the correct answer. Item 16 refers to the following diagrams, which illustrate the results of an experiment. We have a drop of dye, and we see it spreading out in the water 1 hour later. The process demonstrated in the diagram above is responsible for And you have to understand that this is diffusion. This is diffusion, so you're looking for something similar in the answers. Water entering root cells? No, that's osmosis. Minerals entering root cells? No, that's active transport. Starch entering phloem cells? No. Carbon dioxide entering leaf cells. So that is the best answer. Question 17. After absorption of the ileum, excess glucose is immediately converted to be stored in the liver and the muscles as glycogen. So C is the answer. 18. Anemia may be caused by a lack of iron. Anemia is used to make the hemoglobin that is necessary for your red blood cells. So we are looking for the one with iron, and they have iron and vitamin B together. So we know that A is the answer. Which of the following organisms are autotrophs? Auto means self, trophs mean feeding. So which one does self-feeding? So you have cows, mold, humans, and seaweeds. And you know that plants are great autotrophs. When starch is chemically digested into the mouth, the enzyme and products are starch, which is broken down by salivary amylase, which is secreted by the saliva glands. So the enzyme is salivary amylase, and you know that that starch, they told you the product of starch, is broken down into maltose. So A is the answer. Let's look at 21. Refers to the following diagram, which shows the cross-section of the leaf of a flowering plant. Photosynthesis occurs mainly in the area labeled, and we're seeing this area, one, the upper epidermis, we have the whole mesophilia, palisade cells, yes, and two, for the lower epidermis, look, a nice little opening here, stomata. This area here is the vascular bundle. Look, they give a sieve plate on top here. So which area is the area for photosynthesis? And for that, you are choosing B, which is area 2. These cells here, you want them to have a lot of chloroplasts. You want light to be able to pass through this waxy cuticle on top and to hit these cells that have the pigment chlorophyll. Item 22 refers to the following diagram of a respiratory structure. We have air coming in and out, and we have a capillary running right next to it. The respiratory structure shown above is an alveolus, so another name for it is air sac. 23 refers to the following equation, which shows the oxidation of glucose in cells. The energy released during the process is ATP, and that has the bonds for energy to be released. So they have stored in high energy bonds in ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. When the bond is broken, it becomes adenosine diphosphate. So it goes from 3 phosphates to 2 phosphates. Which of the following chemicals paralyzes cilia on the membranes and results in mucus accumulation in the lungs? Is it tar, arsenic, nicotine, or carbon monoxide? And you're thinking about cigarette smoking, then you know it is tar. 25 refers to the following diagram of a mammalian heart. A patient with a certain defective heart condition, it was found that blood flowed from section 1 to section 2. So blood is going up, which is against the flow. It's going against the flow. This is most likely due to the malfunction. There are valves here There's the mitral valves here that prevent this backflow from 1 to 2. Another name for the mitral valves is the bicuspid valves. The semilunar valves, and don't mix them up, right? You could also treat tricuspid valves, which might be on this side, right? But the bicuspid valve, also known as mitral valve, is on the left-hand side, separating the aorta and ventricle. Which of the following is not a type of substance transported by the circulatory system of an animal? And they are asking for not transported. And the one that is not transported is solid, undigested food. That is literally food, right? Food in its macro form, all right? So you don't transport corn and everything through the circulatory system. You have to break it up. You transport glucose or amino acids, but not undigested food. 27, the blood of a person suffering from a pathogenic disease differs from that of a healthy person by having a larger number of what? Should it be white blood cells? Because a person does have a disease. They do have an illness, all right? So they have more white blood cells. A pathogenic disease or is disease caused by an organism. So you need white blood cells to try to fight against it. Question 28 refers to the following diagram, which shows an open stoma of a leaf. See how it's nice and open? This means these guard cells are nice and turgid, they're nice and full, right? Full allows them to curve and be open. Which of the following changes occur when a plant is conserving water on a hot day? When a plant is trying to conserve water, this stoma will close. All right, the reason the stoma is closing is because it wants to conserve water and it is losing water, so it's trying to stop the water loss. So you close this and the guard cells are flaccid. All right, the guard cells are flaccid and the stoma is closed. The only one that says that so far is D. So we automatically know thin cell walls do not stretch. 29. Which of the following options correctly matches the storage organs to their stored nutrients? We have root, fruit, liver. We know liver stores glycogen. We have two right here. We have the root. The root is storing starch. Look, that puts the answer right at C. And fruits, sucrose. Question 30. A person whose kidneys have failed must undergo a process by which excretory material is removed from the blood regularly. This is because excretory materials, you don't want them in your body. You need to get rid of them, otherwise they would poison you. So question 30, otherwise accumulate and poison the person. And a halfway mark is a good time to remind you to subscribe as a form of showing your support for the release of these papers. You could also let us know in the comments which paper you would like to see next and how you are faring as part of your preparation for the exam. A student eats a highly salted snack and does not drink water. Which of the following describes and explains the urine most likely produced after a few hours? So he won't produce plenty urine, so it will be highly concentrated. You would notice that as being more brighter yellow. that is highly concentrated. The ADH will be released because remember, he hasn't drank any water, and your kidneys will reabsorb a lot of water. So which one does that correspond to? I hope persons are seeing that that is B. Dyes in heartwood and tannins in the barks of trees are most likely products of excretion. Auxins is a hormone. Which of the following statements about the skeletal system are correct? It gives the body its shape. No, it does not. The skeleton don't actually give its shape. It is made up of hard, non-living tissue. That's true. The bones or the skeleton itself is not living. Osteocytes, which are a type of cell, they secrete the matrix that becomes the bone. So the osteocytes are alive. What they secrete is not actually alive. It protects delicate organs such as heart and lung. 2 and 3 is the answer. Locomotion is important to animals for avoiding predators and acquiring food and shelter. Assimilating digested food, no, you don't need to walk to assimilate digested food. That happens. So 2 and 1 is what we're looking for, which makes the answer A. Item 35 refers to the following diagram of the arm and shoulder blade. Movement in the shoulder, elbow, and wrist joints is correctly described as movements in the shoulder. They have 3 planes because it's all. The elbow, you have 1 plane because it's just a straight line, like the elbow there. You could just either straighten it or not straighten it. And then the wrist joint. What does the wrist joint do? And I hope if you can't figure this out, everyone is moving their wrists, is moving their joint in the exam. If you get this question, to put 35 at B. Question 36 shows you a picture of brain. And it says, Saren's speech is because he drank too much alcohol. Which of the labeled regions of the brain is affected by the alcohol? Speech is part of the cerebrum. You need that part to have good speech. So A is obviously affected. Item 37 refers to the following diagram, which shows a reflex action. And we have 1 on this side, we have 2 over here, we have 3 down here by the effector, and we have 4. Which label structure is the effector? It was already mentioned that down here is by the effector, which is C. 38 refers to the following action: bending of shoots towards light, rolling up of a millipede when touched, withdrawal of an earthworm into its burrow when touched. All of the actions are examples of responses to stimuli because they always touch, the light falls on the seed, the millipede is touched and rolls up. The earthworm was into its burrow if it is touched. So responses to stimuli, responses is the correct answer. 39, a girl smells a hamburger and salivates. Which of the following is the effector which brings about her response? What is the effector which brings about her response? The smell of food, salivary glands, cells in the nose, secretion of saliva. The salivary glands is where the saliva comes from. All right, remember they ask you for what brings about her response. Her response is salivation. Look, she salivates. That's the response. And they ask her, is the effector which brings about her response. Item 40 refers to the following diagram. An eye which shows nearsightedness. And we have the image being formed in front of the retina, where the light is bent or crosses. That's where the image is supposed to be formed. Which of the following shows how the defect can be corrected? So what you want to do is you want to spread out the light even more, because the lens is either very strong that it's bending the light too strongly. So it's falling in front of the retina. So in order to do that, you use a divergent lens and carry the light outwards. So 40 is A. 41. In the cotyledon of a red bean, which factor is not a requirement for the breakdown of stored food during germination? We have enzymes, warmth, oxygen, light, and we could rule out one by one. Enzymes, yes, you do require enzymes. They break down the food stored in the cotyledons. Warmth, oxygen, light. When you plant a seed, there's no light underground. So when you plant a seed, it doesn't get light. Which label portion of the graph represents the unusually short students? And if we are watching this graph, it shows the height of some students in class. We see curve like this. And we know that the less height you have means the shorter you are. So A is the answer. 43 refers to the following diagram, which shows a section through the testis. The label part 1 is what? So look at it here. You're asking, what is that label part? And you know that as the epididymis. Pollen grains, which are small, light, colorless, and smooth, are most likely transferred by wind. Because they're talking about the pollen grains, right? But wind is a wonderful idea. Question 45. When an okra fruit becomes dry, it splits open along several lines of weakness in its structure. This adaptation is suited for scattering the seeds. Remember, we have some dryness taking place. So all the meaty part, the fruity part, would have faded. And now as the lines become weak, it bursts open and spread the seed. So it's responsible for scattering the seeds. Item 46 refers to the following diagram of specialized cell, not the same size. All right, 2 is a lot smaller than the egg. Which of the following structures is common to both cells? And straight off the bat, we know nucleus, because these two are haploid cells. 47. Which of the following is correct sequence for seed formation after fertilization? So the seed is the outcome. We want the seed as being the outcome. And we know that you have to start off with an ovule. You have to start off with an ovule. So A is the answer. One method of controlling the population of mosquitoes is by getting rid of all stagnant water. Which stage of the life cycle does this method control? If you get rid of stagnant water, you're looking for the stages which are affected by this water, which is the eggs, larvae, and pupa, which makes it B. 49, if farmer's crop is infected by disease causing organisms and he is unable to harvest most of his crop, which of the following is an environmental implication as a result of this? Loss of crop. The actual environmental variation, look at here in bold. Loss of productivity, yeah. Loss of income and profit, yeah. But still, they are asking for environmental implications. A risk of spread of the disease to nearby farmers' crops. Yes, this is the best answer because that's the only one that considers the environment. Which of the following are consequences of plant or human disease? Loss of productivity, yes. Decrease in food prices. Why would, if you have a disease, why are you decreasing prices? A larger part of national budget used to buy medication. Yes. So 1 and 3, and that makes it B. 51, 2 alleles of a gene are situated where? And we will take our time and read the answers, but we know that the answer is A. The same locus on a homologous pair of chromosomes. That's where the allele is coming from. The gene for coat color in cattle shows incomplete dominance. A purebred cow and red coat mates with a purebred bull with white coat. Which of the offspring have run coat? I guess run would be the one where the red and the white are mixed. Which of the following offspring represents the genotype of the offspring? So you could use R for red and W for white. So if it's incomplete dominance, both will show up, which makes the answer B. 53. Which of the following about meiosis is not true? And it's that the chromosome number is maintained. That is not true. The chromosome number is actually halved. So the daughter cells, of which there are 4, have half the number of chromosomes. They are haploid. Which of the following features of cell division refers to mitosis? And we are going with the amount of genetic material in the cells remain the same. That happens in mitosis, right? So mitosis is not a substitute for meiosis, all right? Because it's maintaining the same amount of genetic material. Albinism is caused by a single recessive allele. 2 normal parents can have an albino child. This is because both parents have to have the dominant allele and the recessive allele. Hence, both parents are heterozygous for the gene. So 55 is A. 56. One example of a sex-linked disease is color blindness. 2 goats heterozygous for fast growth rate are crossbred. The percentage of F1 population most likely to possess homozygous allele is 50% when you add up the 25% for the homozygous dominant and the 25% for the homozygous recessive. which you will get in the cross, you get 50%. 58, which of the following describes a group of closely related organisms that are able to interbreed and produce fertile offspring? That's a species. 59. Natural selection may be described as, and you would take your time and read the answers, process by which an organism retains those genes which make it adapted for its environment. You may simply know this as survival of the fittest. And the final question, which of the following does not apply to genetic engineering? Treating genetic diseases, producing higher yielding crops, determining the parentage of a child, producing hormones and proteins, and it will be C, determining the parentage of a child. And this brings us to the end of the January 2023 Biology Paper 1. Do let us know in the comments how you feel, but we look forward to doing more videos, and to encourage us on that journey, we ask you to subscribe and